In this presentation, we will enter adjusting entries into our comprehensive problem for supplies. For more accounting information and accounting courses, visit our website at accountinginstruction.info. So we're going to be doing an adjusting entry for supplies, and that's all we really need to know in order to start the adjusting entry process, meaning if we know our adjusting entry rules, the type of entry we are looking at, we can start the journal entry by just knowing we're dealing with supplies. Then we'll go back in and see why and what we are doing more carefully. So we know that there's going to be one balance sheet account, one income statement account, because it's an adjusting entry. Balance sheet accounts above the blue line, something related to supplies. How about supplies? So it's not a trick question. We're going to say it's going to be supplies. So I'm going to make that yellow just to indicate that that's probably one of the ones we will be using. Then if we scroll down to the income statement account, the dark blue account's looking for some account in the income statement related to supplies, and we see supplies expense. Once again, fairly self-explanatory. That's probably the one that we're going to be using. And then we know that expense accounts only go up. They only go in the debit direction. So all expense accounts have debits and they only go up. So we know we're going to debit this. So again, without even knowing why, really, we're just going to say, and we will cover why, but for now, we're just going to say we're going to debit that. Copy this, and we'll put this up top for our journal entry. Right-click and paste 1, 2, 3. And we know if there's only two accounts and the other account is this one, then it must be credited. So note, I don't know the numbers yet. I don't know anything else, but I'm pretty sure just by the fact that it's an adjusting entry and we're dealing with supplies, we're going to debit supplies expense and credit supplies. So I'm going to right-click supplies, copy it, and put that in C9, right-click and paste 1, 2, 3. Then I'm going to indent that. Home tab, alignment group, indent, probably done for you already. So now we need to know a little bit more detail on what we're doing, why we're doing it, what is going on here in order to get the correct number. So the error here that often happens is we just pick up that 5,000 and just put that in our journal entry. But really what we're doing here is kind of similar to what we would do with inventory on a periodic system, meaning we put everything into supplies because we hadn't yet consumed it, and then we're going to count it at the end of the time period, now, January 31st, adjusting entry process, and then we're going to adjust supplies to the physical count, which is 5,000. So in other words, we need to make this 16,000 be 5,000. We don't need to take it down by 5,000 because we need to make it 5,000. So there's a subtraction. It's a subtraction problem we need to do to get this to be what it needs to be, 5,000. Now just note I kind of oversimplified this, and this is typically the case until we get into inventory, in that when we say we counted the supplies to be 5,000, this is $5,000 worth of supplies, which obviously if we count the supplies, we would say, hey, there's 5,000 units of supplies that we would have to then convert to dollars in some way. We won't talk about that conversion right now. That gets into like inventory flow assumptions, like LIFO, FIFO, and whatnot. But you can see that given that inventory flow, we can say, okay, there's $5,000 worth based on our physical count, what our eyeballs have seen, and there's $16,000 worth in here. So we have to do a subtraction problem, and we'll do the calculator. 16,000 minus 5,000 is the 11. We'll do that here as well. Equals 16,000 minus 5,000 to give us that 11. And then I'm just going to say negative of that number for the other side of it. So if we post this out then, we'll post it and see if it does what we think it should. What do we think it should do? Bring this down to the physical count, 5,000, and increase the expense for the amount consumed, the 11,000. So we're going to post the supplies expense. Here it is on our journal entry. Here it is on the trial balance. We want to be in the middle column of our worksheet in I-22, where we will say equals. Scroll up just a bit. We want to pick up that 11,000. I'm going to scroll down before hitting enter just to see what will happen. Build some suspense here. What's going to happen when we select enter? It's going to make this go up. It's going to put us out of balance, and it's going to bring net income down. So there we have it. So notice net income is being affected by these adjusting journal entries. The expense went up, bringing net income down, the 11,000 out of balance until we record the other side, which we will do now. That's going to supplies. Here it is on the journal entry. Here it is on the trial balance. We want to be in the middle column in I7 where we will say or do equals, and then point to this 11,000. The 16,000 going down by the 11,000 credit, the opposite thing to it, bringing the balance from 16,000 to 5,000. That's what we want to happen. So notice that if you actually post these, then you can see what happens. Unlike if you work problems like multiple choice problems where we don't see what happens in practice, we get to post it and say, that should end up to be what we calculated it to be, which is 5,000 equaling the physical count that we determined supplies needs to be based on our physical count. For more accounting information and accounting courses, visit our website at accountinginstruction.info.